Okay, so after you've moved around some of the geometry, you should have something that roughly resembles this. Now, the important thing to remember in geometry is that we are aiming to have polygon areas in line with external body parts. So later on, adding arms and tails and other bits and pieces similar to what we did with our ears. Now, I'm going to show you a little trick in order to connect geometry to your already existing mesh. So what I've done here to the side of the arm is I've actually deleted some faces in order to make a hole in the mesh. And then I've grabbed another brand new primitive, a cube, and I've subdivided along the depth in order for it to have the same amount of edges around the outside as what is here around here. So the edges around this hole is 6, and the edges around this is also 6, and that's going to be important for a reason. I'll show you why. So first off, I'm just going to scale this down because I want it to fit. I want it to fit roughly the hole which I have over my mesh. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this over and try and align it with what I have here. Okay, it's a little bit big, so I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit more. Just going to shrink it down. There we go. Okay, and we're going to quickly run back into this view, and we're going to pull this over. So what we have here is a cube that's ready to become the bunny's arm, and then of course we'll add edge loops and such as needed. The problem being is this is a separate object in comparison to this. As you can see on here, they're two separate objects. So what we're going to do is first is we're going to combine these objects. So with the first one selected, go ahead and hold down Shift, select the other one, or you can just do it through the outliner. And then we're going to go ahead and go to Mesh, and we're going to combine. Now you should see here, it's given out the commands to show it's gone through the transformation process and it's now combined into this brand new, which has been named Cube 2. So we're going to go ahead and put that as Bunny 1 because that's been upgraded. So there we go. Now the problem being is there's still a hole, and that object that we've attached the arm is still just sitting there, but we're going to change that. So now that it's become one object, we can now go into vertex, oh sorry, no, face, and I'm going to rotate round to the end of my arm, and I'm going to delete the two faces facing the entrance into my mesh. And then one last time we're going to change over to vertex mode. Oh sorry, no, edge, my bad. Alright, so we're in edge mode now, and in edge mode I'm going to select the hole. I'm going to double click so all of the edges around that entrance has been selected, and I'm going to rotate round and come here, and I'm also going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to double click, and now all of the edges on that object has been selected. And then we're going to come up here to edit mesh, and we're going to go to bridge. And what this does is it automatically generates geometry to connect those two areas together. Now the trick with bridge is that it's the simple rule is it has to be the same object, so you can't link two separate objects, they all have to be one object. And the second part is that the sides of the two entrances, or the two parts you wish to join, have to match. So if one side is 5, the other side has to be 5, and so on. Now over here we have our divisions, our taper and our twist. Now at the moment we've got a little bit too much geometry going on here, so I'm going to cut this right down. We don't need it to be that complicated, so I'm going to cut it down to 1, which has now gone ahead and simplified it a bit. We don't want it to be a curve, we want it to be linear, so that's also taken out some of the kink. And the taper and divisions can remain at 1. And there you go. So now we have our arm joined. We're still going to have to clean that up as well manually, but now we actually have an arm in place, and we can just go back into our vertex mode, and we can just continue from where we left off, modeling the arm as we go.